Give us one more just because we haven't heard it in a while.
Here we go! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode of Jofo in the Ring. It's not often that I get to speak to someone that is reminiscent of me, but in another sport. As some of you probably know, I'm a huge fan of combat sports, mixed martial arts, call it what you will. And today, I get the opportunity to speak to someone who's one of the fastest rising stars in the UFC, someone who, much like myself, is always ready, someone who has had not the easiest path to the success that they've achieved, but have always been willing to put in the work and have always delivered. This man is an accomplished fighter. This man has been a boxer, in addition to a lifelong martial artist. And today, I appreciate getting the opportunity to speak with him and introduce him to our audience, the one and only, the Action Man, Chris Curtis.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure. And, I'm such a big UFC fan. People know me as a wrestling guy because I've been doing professional wrestling for 17 years. But I've loved mixed martial arts. I mean, I've just, man, I think back to the first hearing about like Ken Shamrock and Hoist Gracie and, the early days of UFC when it was such a primitive idea, not even a sport, to then, following through the years of guys like Chuck Liddell and, guys like Randy Couture, GSP, our hometown boy here in Montreal, Quebec. And now, guys like yourself who are making quite, a ton of waves in the UFC. Talking to wrestlers for me, that's easy, but talking to fighters, I mean, you guys are real athletes. What you guys do, it pales in comparison.
I think there's so much carryover though, because like every fighter, like everyone my age or younger, everyone my age especially, grew up on wrestling. So it's like, so it's one of those things. Look how many fighters like are super happy to cross over into wrestling. We all grew up like, I was the Attitude Era, man. So you're always like, so many of us, the older guys, we're Attitude Era guys growing up. So there's always going to be that love there. Like, greatest era in wrestling, I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I were pretty much the same age. And like, for me, I was also the Attitude Era. It was, The Rock, right? Steve Austin. Who were your favorites during the Attitude? Yeah, Sting, WCW too.
Yeah, man. Like, dude, I was a Rock guy. Steve Austin, Sting. Val Venus was the guy I loved.
I wrestled him. I wrestled Val Venus.
You wrestled Val Venus?
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy. I love that. I still this day love Val Venus. I make we make random Val Venus jokes. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, I don't understand. So, it's just great, man. Like Ultimate Warrior, like that was probably for me the greatest era of wrestling. And I grew up on it. I think most of us did. It's just, it never goes away. It's always near and dear to our hearts, man. I think there's more crossover than people think.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I would say that right now, especially the UFC, they're kind of doing professional wrestling better than the WWE in a lot of those places. They're selling the fights, the promos, in my opinion, much better than in WWE. The action, legit. And I think that there's so many similarities. Even though there are different fan bases, I think that a lot of people that I get to know from the MMA community, fans and fighters, that they all have that thing in common that, wrestling was a big influence on them. That's really, really cool to hear you're like that too.
Oh, dude, for sure. Like even my customary win pose stolen from Randy Orton. So like, there's a lot. I think there's a lot more crossover people want to admit. But even look at the business, man. Dana definitely UFC for a long time definitely had a much, much bigger WWE influence. And then as time went on, kind of WWE started taking MMA, UFC influence. So it's kind of cool to see how it goes back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. And like, even me in my career, there's so much stuff that like I'm inspired by in UFC, whether it be, on the mic or even poses. I actually kind of stole Kevin Holland's intro pose. I'm man enough to admit it. But hey, you know what? Daniel Bryan also stole the yes from Diego Sanchez. So if he can steal it.
I stole Randy Orton, so it's fine. There's a lot of back and forth there.
Yeah, it's give and take. There's a lot of good fair trade going on.
It's fun, man. There's nothing quite closely you can get to really MMA outside of MMA. It's probably professional wrestling, like just with the personalities and it's like, different styles of fighting. So there's going to be some back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think one of the things that's really cool is, how you and I met, because I was at the UFC X. I haven't had a chance to put out an episode about it yet, but that was a big deal for me because, I had never been to one of those. And I just said this year, you know what, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And I went down there to LA all the way from Montreal, got on the plane and everything. And you just happened to be there that first day walking around. I was in line. Yeah, I was in line waiting to meet Henry Cejudo, which didn't happen because that was one of the biggest godforsaken lines I ever stood in, and it didn't really go anywhere. And I kind of caught you out of the corner of my eye. And one of the guys I was there with, I'm like, I think that's Chris Curtis over there. And then even he was like, well, why would he just be walking around? I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's him. I'm like, I'm going to leave this line. I'm going to go say hi to him. And you were so gracious and accommodating. Can't say enough.
Fun, man. I was just hanging out, man. I was fun. They were like, they called me and like, hey, go to the expo. And I got there, and they're like, well, just wait around in the green room. And I'm like, well, the guys were like, hey, we got paid to be there. So I'm like, they didn't pay me to be here. Like, I feel kind of weird just sitting in a green room, not doing anything. So I didn't really have a job. They were just there. It's like, you know what? Go talk to people. Like, yeah, it's you got a building full of MMA fans, people doing stuff. Like, why not just go say hi to people? Like, I enjoy meeting the fans. I enjoy talking to people. So I'd rather have more fun doing that than like sitting on a stage signing stuff.
Yeah, no, and that was really cool of you, and I'm glad we got to have that conversation. And I mean, I'm a really big fan of yours, like, your story and everything of how long it took you to get to the UFC, and then taking fights on short notice, being able to get those finishes, get those big wins. Hell, you were at the UFC X after having fought, just like, 5 days before that?
Yeah, it's a weekend before that, yeah. And, it's easy. I'm lucky. I'm a guy that doesn't take much damage, like fighting. Like one of my good buddies, Tom Lawler, wrestles professionally now.
Yeah.
And that dude would show up beat up more than any fight. I'm just like, holy hell. Like, that could be way harder on him sometimes than the fight. But I'm a guy that gets lucky. I don't take much damage. So if I can go hang out with people, say hi, meet people, interact, like, I'd rather do that than just be invisible on a stage, like signing autographs, whatever. Like, I enjoy being in this position now, and it's, like, meeting the fans and the people that, like, care is one of the coolest things for me. So the expo was a super big thing for me. Like, people are like, oh, it's my first time going. It's like, mine too. And it was a super big moment for me.
Yeah. No, it's you definitely made my day. I mean, even the fact that, like, I posted that picture that we took and you liked it, you retweeted it. Like, for me, even I'm a professional wrestler, so I don't really get to be a fan that much. I'm usually a guy kind of meeting fans at these kinds of things. But, like, that was super cool for me. I remember I was, like, I forget where I was going that night, but I was just sitting down eating. I'm like, oh, wow, he retweeted my picture with him. This is amazing.
Well,
like,
that's cool for me, though, because I'm like, now I get to follow you. And I'm like, okay, well, now I can start saying, like, you're wrestling. Shit, now I can follow you wrestling. So it's just fun. I think people forget, too, that, like, we're just people, too. And, like, I'm like, oh, shit. So now I'm like, somebody's going to be following you. Like, I want to see what's going on. So it's just, I don't know. I'm the biggest, I'm the least, like, famous person, apparently. Like, I'm becoming famous. I'm just like, God, I'm not that guy. People like, oh, you be out talking to people. I'm like, I'm out fangirling over people too. I'm like, oh shit, there's Valentina. I see her all the time, but like, now I talk to her when she's not training because she scares me when she trains. So I was trying to like talk to Valentina, like, hi, we work for the same people. So I'm still that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, she was actually one of the people I was most starstruck by. I got the chance to meet her, and like there's quite a presence about her. But that's cool.
I get along with her sister great, but she scares me. So I'm just afraid. Like, I'll see her at the PI. I'm afraid to talk to her. I talk to her sister all the time. She's great. I'm like terrified to talk to Valentina. Like, not yet.
Yeah, no, I can sympathize with you on that when there's really an aura about her. I was in line probably for almost 2 hours and got to meet her, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say. And then, she kind of looked at me and she's like, oh, you look really strong. And I was like, wow, she complimented me. Oh my God.
Right, yeah, like,
I feel like I posted the picture on Twitter. I feel I just look like a scared child in that picture. I'm like, oh my gosh, she had just complimented me. My whole game is thrown off now.
Yeah, right. Just ruined your shot. Like, I had a plan. It was gone. She threw me off. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that more than anyone else. I promise you.
No, that's cool. That's cool. So I wanted to, share with our audience a little bit about your story and obviously talk about your upcoming fight because, that's a huge opportunity for you, man. And I think that you are, right on the cusp of superstardom if you haven't achieved it already. But your story is so remarkable about how long it took you to get to the UFC. A lot of ups and downs. It's similar to my career. I've had tryouts with the WWE, similar to how you had the fight on the Contender Series. And, even though you got the job done, they gave you the thumbs down, which is ridiculous considering they could have had this much long ago.
Bro, it's even worse, though, because I actually tried out for Ultimate Fighter years ago. And I got selected. I made it through. And then the next day, they canceled the 170 season and only did 155.
Wow.
So I spend like what little money we had to go to Vegas. I'm like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm good enough, blah, blah, blah. Get there, get selected. And the next day, we're supposed to show up for like the paperwork and medical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
After we make it through the tryout, they cancel the 170 season. I'm just like, oh my God.
Wow. Who would have who'd have been your coaches on that season?
I don't even remember. It was like the one that only did 55. Like it was years ago. I said I didn't care. I didn't watch it. I was just furious.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Tom was on it. I was just furious. Like, oh my God. Spent money I didn't have to get there and then like impress you do it. And they're just like, we got rid of that season. But I'm just like, why can't I win?
Well, who has a similar story? You probably know because it's you're immersed in the culture. But Glover Teixeira has a similar story to that, where he was supposed to be on season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. And he said he went in, he did the trials, he hit the pads and whatnot, and then he went in and did the grappling. He submitted his opponent. They said, okay, perfect, we're going to put you on. But then he had like a green card issue because I think he might have been in the States illegally or something. And he said he looked at Dana and he said, I'm going to come back and I'm going to be a world champion. And, he did it.
Right. There are some people who get really grease pass. Some people have short pass. And then there are some people who have to go through the trenches to get there.
Yeah.
And, I'm definitely in that last category to where, man, we had to go through some trenches to get here. Like, it's been such a crazy ride, man. What? Okay,
I was going to just say, was UFC always the goal?
Yeah, man. From day one, I wanted to be a UFC fighter. Like, you're aware there's good guys fighting all over the place. Like, one of my boys, Johnny Edwards, just won the Bellator world title, 85 world title against Hagar Mousasi, which is, a huge fight.
Yeah.
So there's obviously good fighters everywhere on the planet, but like for most 90% of people, if you say MMA, what do you think of? The UFC.
Yeah.
So for me, since day one, I was like, I wanted to be in the UFC. I wanted to see how far I could go in the UFC. It's always been the day one goal for me. I've had teammates and coaches who were UFC fighters, and I wanted to continue in that tradition to get in, you see how far you can go. And I wanted to be the guy that went the farthest. So it's always been the UFC since day one.
Yeah. You mentioned a guy, it's twice now you mentioned him, Tom Lawler. I never got the chance to wrestle him, but I also was something of a wrestling promoter too. I put on a few shows here locally in my community, and we did bring in Tom for a show. And he was a total gentleman, cool dude, and a big wrestling fan too.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have my side gig. I want to start wrestling professionally. Tom is like, don't do this. He's like, wait till you're done. He's like, you can't do both. I tried for years. It doesn't work. He's just like, so Tom's the one that convinced me. He's like, when you're done fighting, we can talk about wrestling. He's like, do not do them both. You can't do it. I tried. But he's the one to talk me out of it. I was like, wanted to sign up I wanted to start training and do it. He's like, just wait till you're done because you're going to get hurt. You can't do both.
I mean, wrestling is demanding in its own way. Like, obviously, the physicality of a fight doesn't compare to one wrestling match. But with wrestling, even the guys like in WWE, they're on the road 5 days a week. And that's not, it's not just the bumps in the ring. It's the travel. It's you're in a car maybe for 3-4 hours. You're on a plane. You're, doing a show one day. It's at night. Then, you got a matinee the next day kind of thing. So it's a lot of wear and tear.
I remember when I was a teenager, man, I read who was the Goldberg's autobiography. He's just talking about the wear and tear of like being on the road, You're trying to work out, you're trying to eat clean, because you're stuck in a freaking hotel or on the road. You go wrestle, you're beat up, you're on a plane the next day, then you got to wrestle 2 days later. I'm like, holy hell, man, that is a crazy life to be a part of. Like, fighting's crazy, but like the sheer amount of just on the go that wrestling has, it's sickening, man. It's rough.
Yeah. I mean, that's the lifestyle I always wanted. I've always prepared my whole career that that's what I was going to achieve, and I still believe I will achieve that, whether it be with the WWE or with AEW, one of those companies. A lot of opportunities coming my way that I don't want to, get too far ahead of myself, but that's what goes into our daily grind. And I'm in the gym every day and I'm training, but I wanted to know about your training routine, because obviously going into a fight, there's so many things you have to do. You got to make sure your cardio is on point. You got to make sure your weight's on point. All those things. What goes into like your training?
Oh, dude, I train a lot. I train more than most people. Like, I get yelled at about overtraining on a pretty consistent basis. My training schedule is unreal. Like, I have conditioning Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning at 9:00. And then Monday, Wednesday after conditioning, I've got mitts with my Thai coach, and then I have a break. Then I have 3:30 team practice. So Mondays MMA, Wednesdays wrestling. After that, I have a jiu-jitsu class, and then conditioning, and then I'll do bag work or arm run. Tuesday, I have 8:00 jiu-jitsu. Then I have mitts, 10:00 boxing. Tuesday, Thursday, 8:00 jiu-jitsu, 10:00 boxing with my boxing coach. Then I have one of my boxing coaches. Then I have 11:00 in the jiu-jitsu grappling, a break, 3:30 sparring, Tuesday, Thursday. And then Tuesday night is just a run and bag work again, or maybe a little bit of conditioning rounds, depending on how I feel. Then Friday, I have 9:00 my 9:00 conditioning. Then I have 10:00 right from conditioning into 10:00 wrestling, which is miserable. And then I have 1:00 boxing again. And then I have 5:00 boxing, bag work and boxing rounds. Then Saturday, then that night I'll run that night. I run every day. Saturday this morning we had what? It was yesterday. I don't even know what day it is. I'm still, everything blends together now. Saturday, we have a morning run, and then we have conditioning at 10:00, 10:30 roughly, 10:30 conditioning. Then you have sparring at 11, boxing rounds at 11. And then the rest of the day, you're kind of open, and then I used to try to do bag work Saturday night. And then today, we had Sunday's my lightest day. So today I had jiu-jitsu at 11:00. And that was just an hour and a half for 5-minute rounds grappling. Like, I did 12 rounds total, like back to back before I took a break. So an hour and a half of grappling. And then tonight I'll have a run. And that's it for Sunday.
Wow.
So I train 7 days a week. Like, I am in the gym nonstop. But for me, I'm 35. Like, so I figure, like, I've been training this way for a long time. Like, I started in Ohio. And in Ohio, my old gyms, we didn't really have like any world-class gyms. Like, we didn't have the ATT or the AKA. So I started in a very small gym. And what we lacked in like these world-class coaches or whatever, we were just hardworking. We showed up every day. We scrapped without fail. You busted your ass the entire time you're in the gym. So that's how I started my MMA career. So I've always kind of had that hard-nosed approach to where I tell guys, I may not be the strongest, I may not be the biggest, I may not be the fastest, I may not be the most technical, I may not be the best, but I'll outwork everybody I fight. Like, I will be here from bell to bell. I will beat you. We both start. If I'm a B and you're an A+, it's cool because 10 minutes in, you're going to be starting to hit that C level, and I'm still going to be a B. 15 minutes in, you're now a D, and I'm still a B, and I'll beat you with consistency. So that's always been my thing. So I train way more than I should probably, but it just works for me.
No, but that's great. And I mean, to me, it's like you got to be doing that all the time because you're taking those fights on short notice. So you're always ready. And probably a lot of that is a product of your strict training regimen that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, I fought Adolfo. I fought Adolfo on that Saturday. I missed jiu-jitsu on Sunday because I just overslept. I was just exhausted. But I was back in the gym on Monday. And that's kind of why I was okay taking this Hermanson fight, because I literally hadn't taken the time. I missed a day of training, and I was right back to it, getting guys ready, helping guys get ready, and training myself. So for me, having not been in the UFC for so long, it was always about, waiting for an opportunity. Like there's a bunch of times where we got calls, stuff like that. Even when I was younger, it sucked because in my mid-20s, I think I got calls twice about short notice fights, but I just wasn't capable of taking them at that moment. So in the early 20s, so I made myself, I'll always be in a position where I'll never not, take that call again.
Yep. No, and that's great. It's a great lesson for everyone. I had my producers trying to do a little bit of product placement here, but I have a very good idea. I wouldn't mind actually sending you one of these. I have a T-shirt because it's my motto as well, and I think it's yours. Is I like to say,
that is bad. Yes.
That I'm ready yesterday, and I think you're a kind of guy who's ready yesterday.
Absolutely, yes. That's an amazing motto. I love that.
I'd be happy to send you one of those. You don't even have to wear it, but I believe that I'm probably gonna end up I won't steal it, but I'm gonna co-opt your motto. Oh, you can steal it. We can work together, man.
We'll co-opt it, but I love that. That is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I was ready yesterday. That's perfect.
You personify that. I even go so far as saying sometimes with the betting odds, you should be the favorite when you take the fight on short notice, because I'd say they're not ready for you on short notice. People might think,
you're right. We've absolutely right. They go, you fight Jack on short notice. I was ready yesterday.
Yeah,
that's entirely right. But right now, I could make weight tomorrow if I had to. So, I've been ready. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You can have it, run with it. Man, we're a team. I'm team Curtis, team action, man.
I'm down. I am co-opting. Oh, shoot, got you. I am co-opting that. Right? Now we've got plants in there. No, I'm definitely co-opting that, man. That was great. That's freaking great. I love that.
Yeah. And that's where you really caught my attention. I mean, that fight with Phil Haas. What a fight that was. And I mean, they had you as a huge underdog going into that. And that was
it's so messed up, bro, because I had a really bad staph infection going into that right for that fight. It's like cellulitis, a staph infection under the skin. So not only am I fighting the biggest dude, this dude Phil is big. That dude is big. He's fast, he's big, he's super fast, he's super strong. And I'm on a triple dose of antibiotics, the entire week leading up to the fight, because I was trying to get rid of this staph infection. So I get in there, I'm already feeling like crap, bro. And he starts teleporting around, and I'm like, oh my god, he's faster than me. I wish they could project my thoughts onto a screen, because hear it. He comes out, he starts jabbing, he's fast, and I'm just there's no way you're bigger, stronger, and fast. I was so upset with my life at that moment.
But you got the job done. And the thing is, so we have a bit of a different deal here in Canada. You guys have ESPN Plus, and that was actually a pay-per-view. It was a pay-per-view prelim. I don't know if they were broadcasting it on ABC, simulcasting or whatnot, but here we have our own French commentary in Montreal with Patrick Cote, who is in the UFC. And so they're calling the fight, and they're kind of commenting on your low output. And they're like, oh, Haas he's just demolishing him. Curtis isn't throwing anything. This is just, this is one-sided. This is what the odds predicted. And then, bam, you hit him, and the fight was over.
Hey, it sucks because, it's funny because I always get so much crap for the Haas fight, because between that and the Brendan Allen fight, my output was way better for Brendan Allen. I'm like, guys, I was literally on a triple dose of a broad special antibiotic. I remember warming up, and I was like, ooh, this is going to be a rough night. I'm in the back warming up, and I felt like I was just wearing my clothes weighed 10 pounds. Everything I wore 15, 20 pounds. It was just, I was so tired warming up. I was like, this is gonna be a rough night. We're gonna go do it.
Yeah, and you got the job.
And it feels tough, man. He's tough, but I've been doing this a long time. The crappy part about getting the UFC, so I had to go through a lot of fights. I've had a lot of hard fights to get here, but I'm never going to be discouraged by losing, a part of a fight, or by losing a part of a round, or losing a round. Okay, it's fine. So I knew in that fight, I knew like, okay, I'm falling behind. It's fine. But I'm like, he'll slow down. And when he slows down, this will be fine. I just got to kind of wait a little bit. Nobody wants to get hit, whatever, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of, like, having to wait and find my time and pick my spots. And luckily for me, that worked out.
Yeah, no.
It worked out really bad.
Well, I mean, I feel like you defended most of those strikes, and at the end of it, the commentary, the point where I was getting to was they said, like, oh, well, it must have been his strategy. He just rope-a-doped him. He just, let the guy get overconfident and then found his moment and put him out. But then, you told me the story when we met at the UFC X, and I was, okay, wow, I guess that wasn't the case.
Oh, I was just dying. I was just dying. I mean, the part of it was like I do trust my defense a whole lot in the boxing for a very long time. So it's one of those things where we kind of had to bank, like, okay, just don't let them take you down. Defend the shots, because like I roll a lot of punches. Like it's kind of weird because some people don't see it, but people who've got a little bit more like versed in boxing kind of understand like how you roll with punches. And I roll with punches a lot. Like, there are times I get hit to where I don't get damaged because I've gotten really good from like 20 years of doing it, rolling my head with punches. So at that point, we're just like roll with the punches. Like he'll slow down, and our entire thing, like the entire time going in, my corner's like, just take your time, relax. Like touch him, but he'll slow down. He will slow down. When he slows down, we can do it.
Yep.
So for me, it's like, okay, don't die.
Yep.
So the entire strategy was don't die before he slows down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a great fight. It was a great introduction to you in the UFC. Did they give you a bonus for that one? Because they should have.
I got a discretionary bonus. I did not get a $50K bonus, but Dana slid me some extra for the performance.
Yeah, and well deserved. Goes without saying, well deserved. You describe your fight strategy so well with, if the guy's an A+, eventually, the work is going to kick in and they're going to drop because they're not working as hard as you. And that is so admirable. I think even the Brendan Allen fight, it was the same thing. And you put away 3 guys. So I was looking at it like this, and if I could kind of cut a wrestling promo to help hype you up, which, by the way, if ever you need a hype man, I'm more than willing to step in because
I'm gonna hit you up because I got to work on my promo cuttings. I got to get better at it. It's like cutting the actual like promo. So I'm gonna hit you up. I need tips.
Oh yeah. That's my bread and butter is the promos.
I gotta get better at it.
So when it comes down to it, I mean, I would describe you like this: that in an era where a superstar is not necessarily defined by what he does, because let's face it, a guy like Conor McGregor in his last 8 fights. He's either 3-5 if you count the boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, or 4-4. And a lot of those guys that he beat on the win side of the 4 aren't even in the UFC anymore. You riding an 8-fight win streak, with 3 fights in the UFC, 2 of which were finishes, one of which, you took a unanimous decision over a guy who's a multi-time world jiu-jitsu champion. You've beaten a diverse amount of fighters. I think you're on the path to championship gold. I think that we could, this time next year, we could be talking to a middleweight champion. We could be talking to the guy who finally beat Israel Adesanya at middleweight. We could be talking to a guy who could easily, I think, go dominate the welterweight division because you were a welterweight too. So, that's one of the thoughts that I had with the people when we were standing in line. When I took that picture with you and we spoke, that it's like, hey, you're here walking around. A year from now, it could be UFC X. You could be one of the champions standing there proudly representing this sport and representing someone who didn't have the golden ticket, the silver spoon, to be able to get that path to the UFC, but did it the old-fashioned way, the American way, through hard work.
Right. That's it, man. Like, who knows where I'll be in a year from here. I could be here, I could not be here. I could be washed out. Who knows? But all I know is that I'm going to work every single day harder than the guy next to me. And I've always told guys, like, my goal was never to be, I didn't set out like I'm going to be a champion, I'm going to be this. I set out with a goal to see how far I could go.
Yep.
I don't care where that limit was. I just need to see how far I can go. So every single day, I'm going to push. I'm going to outwork the guy to my left and my right. And if you beat me, cool. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. I'm like 29-8. I don't have to have a perfect. I'm not going to have a perfect record. I took the hard way to get here, and I'm proud of that, man. Like I'm the last of an old generation of fighters, man. The last of the old school guys, and I take more pride and being a dog with having an undefeated record. So a year from now, we'll see. But I'm going to work my ass off to see where we end up.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, it's like you learn those lessons. Those 8 losses, okay, those happened earlier in your career, but now you're under the bright lights. You're in the UFC. More people are seeing you and knowing you, so you've had the chance to learn from those. So now I think you're coming in as a seasoned fighter. You know, you look at, I'll do a comparison here, like a guy like, like Yuri Prochazka. You know, he is now light heavyweight champion in the UFC. Not a lot of fights in mixed martial arts, but a ton of experience in the amateurs and in kickboxing as well. So, there are lessons you learn from maybe taking some losses there that now when you step onto the big stage and opportunity presents itself, you're already ready. It's the same like me in wrestling with, working the independent scene. It's like once that call comes, it's not like bringing in a guy from scratch who's new, who maybe has, 2-3 years worth of experience under his belt, and then you're going to throw him into the deep end. You've already been in the deep end under different.
That's not. You're entirely right, man. Like same with you. Like you get that call. Like it's not like you're getting a fresh guy who doesn't know how to perform, who doesn't know how to go. You have to be able to have different roles in fighting, wrestling, everything. You have to know how to play the roles.
Yeah.
And you get that experience from actually doing it. Yeah. So you see so many guys like I always say, you see guys from like Contender Series who they signed to the UFC with 5 fights. And they look good in Contenders. It's another guy with 5 fights. We put him in the UFC against guys who've been there, and what happens? These guys get chewed up.
Yep.
Absolutely chewed up. They go on 3-fight skates, they get cut because you weren't ready, man. Like you haven't. There's so many things in these professions to where there's so many situations to where you'll never know until it comes up.
Yep.
Like you'll never know certain situations until you've dealt with it, and you're like, I never considered this would be something that would happen. And you can't train for that. Like it's just experience. And I got to UFC now. I'll be 35 next week, but I'm a guy who's never. You're not going to surprise me. Like very, very little in the sport surprises me. There's not really much I haven't seen yet. So, I found I've won fights in every single way. I've also lost fights in every single way. So, I've got. It's very hard to surprise me. It's going to be very hard to surprise me. I'm here with 15 years of experience, and I'm just ready to go.
Yep, and that's it's amazing because, like you said, it was not the easiest road, but now you're making the most of it because you learned along the way, and you come in experienced, you come in battle hardened, and I think that makes you a big threat to a lot of your opponents that you could potentially face. Speaking of opponents, now you took this fight with Jack Hermansson on pretty short notice, which is nothing you're not accustomed to. How did that come about? Let the fans know.
Oh no, I was literally walking out of conditioning on Monday, or it's Wednesday. I don't know, like Wednesday, I think.
Pretty sure it was Wednesday.
And my manager walks in and he's like, "Hey, answer your phone." And I was like, "Well, I've been working out." And he's like, "Do you want to fight in 2 weeks?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I said I wanted to stay busy. And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, do you want to fight in London in 2 weeks?" I'm like, "Yes, sure." Who's not fighting? Because I thought everything was booked. And he's like, you'll be fighting Hermansson. And then I was like, okay, what are they paying me? They told me, and I was like, sign me up. So that's as easy as it was. They asked Jack. Jack's a gangster, so he confirmed in like an hour. Cool. They had a hold of him, they confirmed it, and an hour later, we're fighting in London.
No, that's awesome, man. That's the importance of being ready yesterday when that call comes.
That is entirely the point of being ready yesterday. I didn't have to second guess. I've always seen guys with short notice fights like, okay, I don't know if I'm in shape. What I weigh. Like I knew what I weighed. I knew I was in shape. I was leaving conditioning. I was like, I was ready yesterday. So yep. That's it. I love that saying so much. It's fucking wonderful.
We're gonna help make you a good dollar off that saying for sure.
I'm co-opting it, man. Like I would happily co-opt that. Say that is perfect.
Yep. I like it. So, to me, I think that the fight with Jack, I think it's a favorable fight for you for a couple of different reasons. Just from my outside fan perspective, I feel that when it comes to you and Jack, I think that you can definitely do some damage to him on the feet. I think you got much cleaner, more precise, and more powerful striking than Jack does. Not taking anything away from him. But I also think
wild. Yeah, he's a little bit wild, a little bit loopy.
Yeah, but I think that you're precise, and there's a definite amount of power behind the strikes that you throw. Also, I feel that Jack has kind of found himself in some ups and downs. I don't know if he's mentally in as good of a headspace as you are, because I mean, Jack went on a tear there for a while. He was on a 4-fight win streak, which then came to an end with Jared Cannonier, and then he kind of rebounded with the fight with Calvin Gastelum, where he got the heel hook there in Abu Dhabi. But then he's kind of had his ups and downs. Your boy Sean Strickland actually, got that win over him in a 5-round main event. And I think having Strickland as part of your team, that's going to give you an advantage, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good matchup. You got to be careful of Hermance. It's just he's one of Joker's a fitting name, man, because you really never know what Hermance is going to do. Like the Kelvin Gastelum heel hook was insane. Like even his grappling style, like I feel like it's not really like. There's no like set path he follows. He's just opportunistic, man. He'll jump on stuff. He does weird stuff. So he's a really unorthodox guy to fight. But I think I match up well with him. I think I can outstrike him. He's a weird challenge, man. He's got a Greco background, so you don't run into as many Greco guys. So they take the wrestling's a bit different. Mm-hmm. But I think I can survive the takedowns. I can survive the grappling. I think I can actually I can outwork him and beat him up.
Yep.
I am sure that I can.
Yep. No, I have no doubt about it. I actually, again, it's tough for me to critique anything. I watch a lot of mixed martial arts. I've watched a lot of it in my life. I did a little bit of boxing training, but I've never actually been in there in a sanctioned fight. So I know there's so many variables. I'm just like, giving the fan perspective. But I feel that what you said is your strength and how you get stronger as the fight goes on. And, people can just check out like the Rodolfo Vieira fight where, you were leaps and bounds ahead of him as the fight continued. That third round, you smoked him in there. I think that Jack is kind of the opposite. I think Jack is probably at his most dangerous, at the start. And then I think he kind of starts to melt as it goes on if things don't go his way or he happens to get hurt. At least that's, what I've kind of seen.
That's a pretty common assessment. Like, I think you're spot on there. I think he gets frustrated a little bit when stuff starts kind of going against him. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, I think of like even the fight with Sean Strickland when he couldn't get Strickland down and, he was just kind of touching him up, working that jab really well. I think of his fight with Jared Cannonier where, he had promised he wanted to TKO Jared on the ground and then, Jared ended up doing it to him. I definitely think that, it works on the mental aspect of it. And that's something that with wrestling, I have that approach to it where I think of my opponent, I first think of them mentally. And we're kind of working together, but we're also simulating a fight. So I think of it from the mental, the headspace.
No, it's entirely right. Entirely right.
Yeah, I think that's to your advantage. And I mean, if you can have a great showing against Jack, if you can finish him, then we got to put you in the conversation for top 5, if not the championship.
Well, if I beat Jack, Jack's ranked number 8. So I beat Jack, I'm number 8 in the world now. So, if your goal is to see how far you can go, that's a good step going down towards those goals. Like, okay, well, I know I'm at least number 8 in the world 4 times. So beating Jack gets me, I skip the top 15, and I get in the top 10. So, yeah, I think a top 5 fight's not too far from that.
Yeah, and I know that now they're talking about Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya as being the next middleweight championship fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. But how would you see yourself matching up against a guy like Izzy or Pereira potentially?
Oh, I mean, it would suck. It would definitely suck. They're both. So Alex Pereira is massive. I don't think people realize how big that dude is. But as we fought in the same card in New York. And I'm just looking at him he's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's a big dude. So I'd probably rather fight Izzy than Alex Pereira. Alex is a big human. I was looking at him like, ooh. Because every time I go back to 70, it'd probably be to avoid Alex Pereira. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but I don't know, man. At this point, man, I'll fight everybody. Like I said, I'm not afraid of. I want to win. I'm not afraid of losing, and I just want to see how far I can go. So if that's my limit, that's my limit. It's fine, but so long as I find out, I'm happy.
Yep. And how about the champ? How about Israel Adesanya? What are your thoughts on him?
I don't know, man. It's weird. So having never interacted with Izzy, whatever, it's hard to understand how these fights go. I don't know if he's doing something that's scaring people or people are giving him too much respect. I don't know, but the things I see don't doesn't look scary from the outside, but I'm just like, when you're in there, everything's way different. So I'm just like, I would really like to know, and like, is his movement threatening? Is like, what's freezing people like this? Or is it just people go in like with Anderson Silva at a point to where like, you have so much respect for him that it kind of throws you off? I would love to know, because like from the outside, even Cannonier, from the outside, he didn't look crazy good, did he?
I mean, I was one of the people saying, like, I'm a big fan of Derek Brunson, and I felt like Brunson dominated the fight with Cannonier, and Cannonier managed to, catch him with that, I think it was like a little back fist that he did, and get the win. I actually talked with Derek at the UFC X about that, because to me, Cannonier didn't seem to be, putting him in any kind of danger, so I had a hard time believing that he was going to beat a guy like Izzy, who is, champion and supposedly levels above.
Even Izzy didn't look levels above Cannonier though. He didn't look like, I don't know, man. Like, I would love to like talk to somebody, even like, get a chance to just like spar with Izzy and just see like what everyone's seeing. I'm curious. It can be so different when you're in there, but like from the outside looking in, I just don't get it.
Mm-hmm. I think neither do a lot of fans. I know I don't really get it. I'm not overly entertained. I mean, it's not a sport of entertainment, but like it's just, why do people not engage him? And I feel like John Jones kind of had that for the longest time too. But at least with John Jones, I feel like I can understand that his strikes were very dynamic, and you didn't know when you're going to get the oblique kick, when he's going to, throw an elbow, when he's going to John Jones.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I feel John had a lot of different dynamic strikes that he threw just to kind of keep people guessing. Me and my circle of people who talk MMA, we kind of called it like he was doing snake charming. He was kind of
snake charmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see Izzy as nearly the level of like snake charmer, and like look at that dynamic threat John Jones had. Let's say elbows, spinning elbows, back fists, knees, long punches, suplexes, trips, double legs. Like, you're just like, what's coming? But like Izzy hasn't really shown much more than like good kickboxing. So it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just way different when you're in there, but like I would love to know.
Yeah. No, I think you'll get your shot, man. I believe in you, and I think that would be a hell of a fight. And I think your story juxtaposed his would be interesting, because he came in right from kickboxing, talked a good game. He still talks a good game. Unfortunately, MMA has kind of become a sport of who's most marketable, who can talk the talk more than who can walk the walk, and then the matchmaking just has to kind of, I mean, look at Pereira. They have the built-in story of he's the last guy to knock out Izzy, and he gets to skip a lot of the gatekeepers at middleweight. He didn't have to fight any guy who might potentially be a big wrestling threat in the top 5, top 10, and kind of got that golden ticket right to Izzy just using his kickboxing.
I would have loved to see Pereira fight Brunson to see like what's going on, like how good of an MMA fighter is he.
Yeah,
like, we know Pereira's a good kickboxer. I want to see like if he has, let him fight Brunson and see how good of an MMA fighter is he actually. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, because in the wrestling world we call that politics, and it comes down to the bookers, the matchmakers, and if there's a story they feel they can make $1 off of, then they'll see to it that happens, and the talent doesn't necessarily have to deliver as much. Like I said, you're on an 8-fight win streak. Compare that to Conor McGregor, who people think are the biggest star in the business. He's 4-4 in his last 8 fights, and so it's not.
He was definitely a story they built. Yeah, they built that story pretty hard. Like, he had some they had really favorable matchmaking coming up.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like, I wish you the best of luck there in England. I think it'll be great. I hope the people give you a good ovation when you get there. I know you're kind of against a European, but.
Dude, no, so I've gotten like 1,000 messages from the English crowd, like, about it. Like, they're like, I'm going to be at the fight. We're going to be pulling for you. I got a bunch of lads pulling for you. So the English are super cool because, like, they lost a fight. But, like, I was like, I guess me stepping in, I want to keep the fight in the card. They're fighting people, so they absolutely loved it. So I've got so much love from the English fans. I'm really excited to be in the O2 with all those guys. I'm super psyched about it.
And I know you put out a thing saying that I think Strickland won't be in your corner this time around.
Yeah, he can't travel overseas. So Darren Till's actually going to be in my corner.
Oh, okay. Oh, Till's really going to be in your corner.
Yeah, Till. So I trained with Till when he's out here in Vegas, and him and Combs out in Vegas. So that's why I met Till a while ago. So I hit him up like, hey, man, you be in town. You want to be my third? He'll be my third corner. So, yeah, Till's a guard. I'm down. So, yeah, third corner is Till.
So that's official. Wow, that's some amazing amazing breaking news that we have there. And that's great. So you were able to do what Mike Perry wasn't able to do when he was asking for Till to be, or he said he wanted someone in his corner and Till offered to do it.
Yeah, I need a third person. And Till's like, yeah, I got him. He's like, yeah, I'm down. So I bet I'm not here if it makes some sense. He'll be there. So it'll be a fun time.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I think you're going to give the people a great show. I think it's going to be an amazing fight, win, lose, or draw. Although I'll go out on a limb and tell you the truth, I'll be putting my money on you. Not just because you're a cool dude, but because I believe you're going to get it done. And I think that the matchmakers, the bookies, are going to be stupid enough to put you as an underdog again. So that'll mean a lot of money in my pocket once it's all said and done.
We'll see. I'm going out here. I'm going to bust my ass, man. I'm going out here to put on a show. And, this win. This is a big fight, a big win, so I'm gonna do everything in my power, everything possible in my power to make this become reality.
Cool, man. Well, I predict a big win. I predict a bonus, whether it be fight of the night or knockout, and definitely big things in your future. And I'm glad that I got the chance to meet you, to talk with you. This is awesome, man. Like. I feel like I'm just talking to one of my buddies here, but like when it comes down to it,
this is fun, man. Like I love talking to you, man. This is like a really you're such a chill dude. That's why I met you. It's really cool. Like, you're such a chill dude, and this has been really fun for me.
Oh well, thank you. I appreciate it. I've always said wrestling is my dream. That's what I want to accomplish, and I will accomplish. But if I could do any other job in the world, I would want to be an MMA journalist. So who knows? Maybe this might be a step in that direction. Maybe more fighters will want to come on and speak with me.
Dude, hopefully so, man. You're a fun guy to talk to. You've got a good head and a good eye for the sports. So, yeah, man. But hopefully, I can inspire some other guys to get on here and do this.
Yeah, I want to kind of try to appeal to a different market because you kind of got the guys like John Morgan and the Ariel Hawanis. I want to maybe be the more fit athlete kind of perspective when it comes to MMA journalism.
Nah, man, it'd be a good niche to fill, man. I'm down for it. Do it. Maybe I can get some guys to come on here for you.
Cool. If you can put in a good word, it much appreciated.
I will most definitely. I promise you.
Yeah. With that said, I could talk to you for hours, man. It's of all the interviews I've done, and I've interviewed, almost this entire wall of people. I don't know if you can see up there, but we got like all kinds of people that we've had on here, Attitude Era people. We had like the Godfather. We had Sabu. We had Devon Dudley. You could go through our whole archive and see tons of interviews. But this for me is really special to get to talk to someone from the UFC who entertains me, on a monthly, weekly basis. I watch every week, whether it be a fight night or a pay-per-view. This is super cool, and I appreciate you for coming on here. You're a super cool dude. We're definitely going to keep in contact. So to remind the fans out there, you can check out Action Man Chris Curtis's fight. It's coming up on July the 23rd from the O2 Arena in England. It's going to be Chris Curtis versus Jack Hermanson. It's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, third to last co-main.
Co-main event.
Co-main, beautiful.
Yep.
So a lot of eyes going to be on that. You can check it out on UFC Fight Pass on ESPN Plus. You can check it out here in Canada on TSN or on RDS. And it's going to be a great night of fights and guaranteed action from the Action Man himself. With that said, we're kind of wrapping things up here. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, social medias. Shout out your sponsors. Man, the floor is yours.
I'm just social medias. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ActionMan513. Send me a line, follow, welcome to the circus, and that'll be it. Don't worry about sponsors later. But ActionMan513, just hit me up and just enjoy the show.
Awesome. Well, I've enjoyed speaking with you. And by the way, when you do get that middleweight belt, don't forget about us here. We'd love to have you back on. In fact, I'd love to have you back on to promote any one of your fights. You're a friend of the show. You're like family to us. And so anytime you want to come on here, we'll be happy to do that. And if you want to keep in touch with me, I can help you out with those promos,
Bro, I'll definitely will. I'll be back on, of course, and I'll hit you up as soon as we're off the here, man. But I definitely will be back on, and I look forward to seeing your journey as well, man.
Yep, we're going to make it. Like you said, man, we're going to both keep grinding our way to the top. And the way I see it, you could have me, AEW champion, WWE champion, whatever it's going to be, you, UFC champion, 2-division champion. You'll go get the middleweight title, then you'll go get the welterweight title from Usman or whoever it's going to be.
We can kind of hell of a promo with that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very special episode of Jofo in the Ring. Remember to go on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, do all that social media stuff. Find us online on Twitter at Jofo in the Ring, me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet, on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. And as always, even though today was an MMA episode, we like to remind you that wrestling is life. So, Jofo,
I'm a gargle a shot for Kurt Hennig and everybody before we go.
Oh, no.
Jofo, thank you guys.